your hosts, industry expert Imran Pilati and Sacktown Sports 49ers insider Emil Fragoso.
Good morning, everybody. It's Imran Pilati coming to you at 10:02 a.m. from Southern California. I'm here at my Airbnb. Chris Verlot is behind the window. Chris, can you hear me just fine?
I got you.
Awesome. It's good to have Chris with me today. Now, we had this all set up. I was going to do a recording with Big Shep. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. So I'm coming to you live from a bedroom of my Airbnb here in Orange, California. My son Beckett turned 2 years old on Thursday, so we made the trip down here. And Sacktown Breaks, what's up? Nice to see you in the chat. So if you're on the YouTube, if you're on the YouTubes, you're able to see me sitting here in my Airbnb. Chris, thanks for making this all happen, man. We were trying to make all of this happen last minute, and as usual, you're the pro and you made it happen. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to have conversations with you today about cards, sports, and I promise you, it won't be that hard of a conversation considering that you're not a card guy, but today you are.
Don't miss the act.
Yeah, sounds good. I don't think people realized we planned this about 45 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So let's see how it goes. I listen to you in the morning. I listen to you when you're working with Dave and the team, so I know that you know your sports pretty well. I'm here in Burbank, California. Did you know that there's a big card show here called the Burbank Card Show, Chris?
Ironically enough, I did know that because one of the wrestling podcasts I listen to, they've got a big card guy, and he was talking about going to that show today.
Which one? Which wrestling podcast do you listen to?
We watch wrestling. We watch wrestling. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I listen to Cheap Heat myself with Peter Rosenberg. So I didn't know that you're that into wrestling.
Oh yeah, I'm a big wrestling guy.
Okay, same with me, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So the Burbank Card Show right now, it's known as the West Coast National, kind of unofficially. It's roughly about, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes from where I'm staying right now. And my wife, my son, and I turned this into a trip to Southern California / finish with business. So tomorrow is the last day of the Burbank Card Show. It's being held at the Anaheim Convention Center, and they have about 500 tables, just dealer tables. Different dealers from all around the United States are here to sell their goods. So I'm going to be going to that tomorrow. Yesterday, we were in Disneyland. When was the last time you went to Disneyland, Chris?
I went to Disneyland in 2006. Okay. That was the last time. I think a lot has changed.
My wife is younger than me, and she said something about she graduated high school in 2008. And she said the last time she went was for her grad night. So when we went yesterday, first of all, Disneyland is an entirely different animal now. It was very expensive, but it was super seamless. Like everything's on an app. You could find out what the times are for the rides and how long it's going to take to get on a ride. And my son Beckett is 2 years old, and this kid is a monster. He can just sit on any ride. It didn't even matter. He rode all of them, wasn't scared of any kind. We rode Pirates of the Caribbean, which they PC'd up, by the way. They've PC'd it up. It's very different than it used to be. A lot less drinking, alcohol stuff in there, and more like, fun Captain Jack Sparrow type of stuff in there. But it's got like monsters, and you're going down these really big drops in the water. And he's just like looking at me like, we getting a corn dog after this or what? He's the best kid to take on these trips. But Disneyland is a totally different animal. We were there from, I think, 9:45 in the morning until almost 10 o'clock last night. And it goes until midnight now. And it's just wild. So you need to go back. It's well worth it, Chris. I think that it's well worth the trip. Today, after we get done with the show, we're going to go to Universal Studios. So it's a whole entire family thing here. Have you been to Universal lately?
I think the last time I went there was 2010.
2010, okay. Did Beckett ride the Haunted Mansion? No, he did not. He's not allowed to. He is 2 years old, and he's just under 3 feet. But they let him ride anything with the word mountain, like Space Mountain or the Matterhorn or any of that stuff. He can't ride, but he rode everything else. I mean, the kid rode everything. So we're enjoying it. We're having a good time out here, and I look forward to being home on Monday, actually, when we drive back. But this Burbank Card Show, our team is there. We're buying cards. We're selling cards. We're booth number 1259, 1259. Feel free to go by there if you get a chance. All right, Chris, let's talk about something that I was at last week. I came back from New York. Did you hear about the Fanatics Fest that was there in New York?
I saw a lot of videos from out there. Yeah.
Okay. So, but as a wrestling guy, you would have loved this. What they did was they kind of merged it. Michael Rubin, who's the owner and CEO of Fanatics, the billionaire, said, I'm going to these Comic Cons. I like it, but there's nothing like this for sports at all in any format. So why don't we make one? And so they made this event to where they had this interactive experience at the Javits Center, which is a huge center there in New York City. And it's a beautiful setup. I was there last week. I talked about it from the road last week on the show. And they have this interactive experience. They had NFL, NBA, MLB, soccer, WNBA. When I say soccer, I mean MLS. They had WWE. They had UFC. They had every star you could think of that were there. And they were interacting with all kinds of different celebrities out on the floor. Tom Brady was literally walking the floor and going up to these card tables, card dealers, and going, hey, do you have any of my cards? Hey, did you know I used to sign my autograph this way? And I included the number 12 in there. Like, it was just this crazy interaction. You had Gronk that was taking cards. There were slab cards, graded cards, and slamming them on the ground and Gronk spiking them. You had Travis Scott running around talking to people. You had Livy Dunn, who was there, and she was signing Paul Skeens cards. Just the interact. Jay-Z was there. Just the interaction of this event was incredible. But my favorite one of all the different interactive things was the WWE one. Not just because I'm a huge wrestling fan, but the fact of this. Imagine, Chris, they've got this set up like you're walking onto Raw or you're walking onto SmackDown, and you're coming from behind the stage. The music plays of your choice, so you pick the wrestler that you want, and then you walk out on the red carpet out to the music. So, like, who would you have picked, Chris?
Oh, I would have went with Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat.
Oh my God. They did not have the
Oh no.
they did not have the card dipping on fofos. They did not have that card out there, Latino Heat. I was not expecting that. Where did that come from with Guerrero?
Oh, he's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Even when he was in WCW?
Oh yeah. It was I remember one of the first shows I went to was Super Brawl in San Francisco, and it was him versus Chris Jericho for, I believe, either the cruiserweight title or the US title. I think the cruiserweight title.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they have US title at WCW?
Yeah.
They did have US.
Yeah, that's where the one from WWE came from.
Ah, I see. You know what? I think about US title. Who held that? Sorry, we're getting nerdy on real quick here at Sacktown Sports 1140, but I'm just trying to think, Chris, who did what was that German guy's name that danced?
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Something?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Alex something?
Alex Wright.
Alex Wright, yeah.
Yes.
Was he a US title holder? And
I think so. Yeah, I believe he was. Yeah.
He had a big thing like, look, a German is holding your US title, and he played a nice heel. Alex Wright, see, Peg Junk knows what's up. Dude, WCW was an incredible time. Monday Nitro and the Goldberg run, and you might have been too young, Chris, but I watched all that through my 20s.
Oh yeah, I first started watching WCW when they had the NWO invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was young enough to where I'm like, oh wow, I thought it was, oh, the WWF is invading WCW. This is amazing.
Oh, with the Shane McMahon angle.
No, like with the Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and them attacking Rey Mysterio in the back of the arena. I'm like, oh, this is oh my friends, this is real.
Bash at the Beach happened in 1996, where Hogan did the heel turn.
Yeah.
Okay? I was 1 year graduated out of high school, but had that been 10 years earlier, I would have cried my face off. because my hero leg dropped Macho Man and turned on everybody and turned on all the Hulkamaniacs and turned into Hollywood Hogan. And I don't know. Sorry that we got nerdy. We're going to end up talking about that on a future show. But I'm telling you, Chris, this has turned around the entire hobby, this event, this Fanatics event. And what Michael Rubin said was he wanted to 10x the hobby, meaning he wanted it to be 10 times larger than it currently is today. One thing about sports cards that has not happened, and you may watch TV or listen to radio commercials, Chris, but when was the last time that you ever heard or seen a commercial about baseball cards?
I don't think I've ever heard one or seen one.
I'm 46 years old and I don't recall seeing one either. And it's crazy to me to think that an industry that $1 billion industry operates with zero kind of advertising or zero kind of any kind of promotions of any kind. And if you think about Fanatics themselves, they are on all the time on lots of platforms, lots of channels, whether it be commercials. You could expect after an event happens and a champion is crowned that there's a Fanatics commercial that's happening inside the next 30 seconds after the win happens, right? There's some sort of like, oh yeah, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. Get your brand new shirt, jacket, sweater, hat at fanatics.com. They spent the money to advertise heavily. So they have a customer list of contact information, mailing information, phone numbers, their spending habits. Now the Fanatics team are taking over and owning the space in cards. They're going to have all the licensing. They're going to be creating the cards here in the next 2 years. And so they have a Rolodex that's insane of being able to tap into people that they already know sports fans. They know which teams they like, which players they buy about. And they have this powerful Rolodex that they're going to be able to tap into and hopefully grow this hobby up to where they're going to see more and more cards being sold to fans. And I will tell you that somebody that had a table there in New York, myself, I had a lot of people walk up to my booth and I'd be like, yeah, what do you collect? And they would say to me, I don't collect at all. I was over here for the WWE thing and I wanted to walk over to this section and see what you guys had. Just kind of interesting, interest to me. So I would sell them a card for their very first time, or maybe sell them a pack, their very first pack they'd ever bought. And when you see this crossover between the events and the fan fest, and then people coming over to the cards, it's very different. The Burbank Card Show, the one that's happening right now, 10 miles away from me, they're all card collectors. People are walking in, they collect cards, they buy and sell trade, but you hardly have anybody just wandering over because they don't collect. With the Fan Fest, they had that beautiful merge, and man, did they go out with the money on this Fan Fest? If you think about the list, did you see who was there, Chris? The people?
Yeah, and I saw ESPN had all their shows out there. It was not basically everybody.
Everybody. Stephen A was there. Jalen Rose was there. They had all of the typical shows being produced live at the event. They had Jay-Z, Travis Scott, like the biggest names in the sports out there. Peyton Manning and Eli together were doing some stuff. Just an incredible event. So I think that's going to change the game. It's going to be there for a long time to come. They have another event that's happening later this year in Orlando. That's going to be held November 1 through 3, 1st through the 3rd in Orlando. We'll be set up there. They're also rumored to have one in Pittsburgh, September 28th and 29th. That's coming up. It's about a month and change away. If that's the case, then obviously me and my team will have to be out there to do that. It's kind of one of those things where if you have a plan to be part of the Fanatics and Topps distribution channels as a store, they kind of expect you to show up to that. So they don't tell me that I have to go, but they look at me like, are you sure you weren't coming? I'm like, I guess I am coming. So I'll be on the road yet again shortly. All right. One thing too, Chris, I know that you probably don't know about what's called Whatnot. Are you familiar with this app?
I am not.
What it is, it's an app in regards to being able to live bid. I don't know if there's anything out there that's like it, to where you can just log onto the app, find a seller that you like, and you can bid live on items that are on the screen. I'm trying to think of something similar to that. Could you think of anything?
Like live bidding,
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, you're like watching the person go, yeah, I'm selling this thing, and you can bid on it right now. And just by swiping, you can actually bid on the items.
There's a wrestling company out there. It's not bidding, but it's one of the things of where you buy something for the wrestler to sign, and that's all live. Like Bret Hart will sign an action figure or
Oh,
an 8x10 or something to that effect, and you watch him sign it, and he tells stories along while he's signing everything
is
for
he
that.
connecting with the person that purchased the item?
Yeah, so it's that, and then it's like this. So they got like a live chat on the side, people asking questions on the side. The person is asking a question that is wanting something signed. He's answering that. They've got a host along with them that will chime in from time to time. It's one of those things of even if you don't get anything, it's a pretty good show to watch. You'll get something out of it.
Oh yeah, I saw Lenny Dykstra of all people do one of those. What a mess!
Oh my god.
For those that don't know Lenny Dykstra, this guy was somebody that was a hero for the '86 Mets. He Nails, who was his nickname, and this guy has been known to, how do we describe it, Chris? Uh, get into some trouble.
Yeah, he is out there.
He had some like fraud. He duped Wayne Gretzky for money or something like that, and he bought his
Yeah, he
mansion.
bought his house. I've
Yeah.
actually listened to a podcast about him, which you hear all these stories which you don't believe are true, which are true. I think it's one of those things of you hear this from athletes where they're so competitive, and that when they're done playing the game, they're looking for some sort of competition in their lives, and he's kind of gone the Conway, if you will.
The worst way. The worst
Yeah.
way. And the reason why I remember this is because he was doing the live streaming signing, and the dude was drunk, like drunk. And he was like, oh yeah, and he was cussing. They're like, you can't cuss. There's kids on this thing. Well, those kids need to learn. And like, he was just a mess. And I was like, why would you even want to do this with this guy? But I was just in New York. People are nuts about their sports teams, and everybody wanted to jump on and talk to Drunk Lenny, and he did really well. Anyways, going back to the Whatnot app, we have a new channel. So every Wednesday and Thursday nights, we go on the Whatnot app at 7:35 Pacific time, and people log in from all around the country or even the world. They'll just jump on our stream and we'll put cards for sale, and they bid, and it automatically has their PayPal saved in there as well as their mailing address. So as long as we just mark down that Chris bought card number 1, now all of a sudden we just know that we got to ship out card number 1 to you. It prints the labels, it prints the mailing label, it prints the packing slip, and off the card goes. We have that on Wednesdays and Thursday nights already, 7:35. We just added a brand new channel, True Sports Cards TCG, that stands for the Trading Card Games, and that we're really focusing on Pokemon. Now, I know nothing about Pokemon, but I have people on my team that do. Chris, tell me, you're a Pokemon guy?
I know nothing about Pokemon.
Okay, then you and I are tied because I don't know anything about Pokemon either, but I know this is what I do know. People love Pokemon. I don't know what it is. They buy it. I'm not criticizing them. I appreciate their business. But I couldn't tell you a Charizard from a Jigglypuff to a Snortortle. I have no clue what any of those are. But we do have 2 people that really know them in our store. Ethan and Donovan are our Pokemon experts. And so on Tuesday nights, we have Tuesday Night Pokemon on Whatnot. You have to follow us on our new channel, which is True Sports Cards TCG. Sacktown Breaks, that's in the chat right now, I believe was the one buying packs of Pokemon on there. Doesn't know Pokemon either, but wanted to support us. So he was just buying stuff for $1 and going, "Is this good? Is this good?" And then I'm going, "I don't know if it's good either." But luckily, our team members did know, and he hit a pretty big card actually, worth about $100 out of that pack that he bought for $1. So great to see that. So we have that's going to be Tuesday nights. We just started that. And Chris, now you know what this is. On Monday, starting September 2nd, I, Imran Pilati, will be running the channel True Sports Cards on Monday night for Monday Night Raw. We're going to be doing UFC and WWE cards. That's going to be starting Labor Day, the 2nd of September. Chris, I'd love for you to actually get on Whatnot, get your own, and then join us on that. And the only thing I'm a little bit nervous about is some of the pronunciations when I'm opening packs of UFC.
Oh yeah, I know very little about UFC.
I'm struggling with some of this stuff. What you know very little about UFC, you said?
Very little. Like,
So what is it about the combat sport that doesn't relate to you? We get it, right? It's all uh pre-planned in wrestling. We won't say it's fake because the guy really does have to jump off the top rope. He really does have to land on somebody. That really does happen, but it is pre-planned as far as the expectation of who's going to win. Why does UFC not resonate with you the same?
I don't know. It's something that I just never got. I think it's because I watched the very early ones, which were
Back in
brutal,
'93.
which were absolutely brutal. And it was the idea of like, oh, it's wrestling, but it's real. It's like, no, these guys are fighting each other and hurting each other. And
Do you remember the first? Did you watch the very first one in '93?
I did. I know. I think it was the one I remember. Was it a sumo wrestler versus a boxer?
No, it was against a Savate kickboxer
Okay.
where he fell and he kicked him in the face
Yes.
and his tooth went flying.
Yeah, that was too much.
Yeah. I remember I was a sophomore in high school and I was like, what am I watching? This is crazy. And it's nothing like the UFC today. There was a guy that was pretty foolish. He was a boxer. He had one hand with the glove, the boxing glove, and the other hand free. He's like trying to.
Yes, yeah, I do remember that.
Remember that? And they would fight it was like a blood sport type thing where they just kept going down and they'd fight 4 times in one night. And Hoist Gracie was the one that won it. So the whole concept of that just didn't resonate with you, and then you were just like, forget it.
It also, so Carmichael Dave would have several watch parties when I was actually interning for him. And so all of us would get an invite, and it would be something like nothing really major would happen. He goes, oh, it was a bad lineup. Wait till the next one. So I'd go to the next one. Oh, it wasn't the best card, so just wait for the next one. And then it got to a point. I said, Dave, we've been to like 5 of these, and you said it's a bad card every time.
Why do we keep going to these? That's the other thing too, that there was a heyday of the sport when it was still growing, and Dana White took over as president officially and kind of like the face of, and it was the Chuck Liddells and the Tito Ortizes and
Chuck Liddell, I was a huge fan of.
Yeah, I mean,
those felt like normal guys, like, okay, we're going to brawl right now, let's go, type of thing.
Right, and we're going to have a beer after, and you can see by my beer belly that I am going to have a beer after this. And then it evolved to the Conor McGregors and the Khabibs and those kinds of guys. But you currently don't watch any of this stuff right now at the UFC?
It's one of those things of if I'm out with friends and they want to watch it, or if someone's having it at their house, I'll go, but I've never made a plan to go see it.
I get it. It makes sense. I'm big into UFC. I try to buy all the cards that I can, but I didn't just buy this one with DDP versus Izzy Adesanya. I say his name wrong every time. It's very difficult, but these cards are getting more and more light. They need to really stack these bad boys up in order for it to be worth it. But yeah, I'm excited about having a wrestling whatnot, because we're going to be selling that stuff. Who's your wrestler of choice at the moment? Like what storyline are you into at the moment?
Right now, well, I've said before, I'm a big AEW fan.
Oh,
they've got the All In this weekend, and the story between Mariah May and Tony Storm has been incredible. So that's my favorite. Also, Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland tonight, and Danielson's putting his career on the line. So that's like the major story that I'm interested in right now.
Okay, so in the pre-planned world of it, there's no way that Danielson loses and calls it a career in the middle of August on an All-In pay-per-view.
He's been setting it up of, I need surgery pretty soon, so I don't know how much we can see of me, and I'm going to try and get my way through this one, so we'll see. So it's one of those things where it's like, you might be telling on yourself a little bit. About
2 years ago, when I was really watching AEW pretty significantly, they had a chance. They had a real chance. It was amazing. It was the show that announced Adam Cole and Danielson on the same show.
Yeah,
I got chills because you were expecting Danielson, but then to see Adam Cole show up, it was like, okay, that's the big announcement. And then Danielson comes out later, aka Daniel Bryan. and they really had a chance. And then I just think they fumbled the bag, and Tony Khan got really Eric Bischoffy, and I don't know if it can recover, but if you like it, congrats. There is some great wrestling on that show.
And that's the thing you hear people like, oh, like I hate to even call them wrestling fans because like, oh, wait till AEW folds, wait till this happens. It's like, wait, you don't want people losing their jobs, man. Like, if
You
people are
want-
into it, good. If you're not, that's all right.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we've got that going on. I'm going to talk more sports with you here shortly, but let me just make a couple of announcements of some products that are coming out. We have 3 products that are actually two products this upcoming week that's of note that we should pay attention to. The first one is called 2024 Boys of Summer. It's a baseball product. I'm going to pull up the stats while we're here. It's 1 pack with 8 cards in it. All right, so it's 1 box, 8 cards. Chris, it goes for, I'm going to let you guess because you don't know, and this is wonderful. 1 pack, 8 cards, 2024 Panini Boys of Summer. It comes with 3 autographs and 1 memorabilia card in every box. Chris, what's your guess on the price?
I'm going to say $250.
Hey, not bad. $300 is the estimated retail price on this. This is a product that's going to be kind of a higher end product, one that's going to be, well, you're only with 8 cards and you're paying $300, so you can imagine what that looks like per. There's stuff called 5-tool player materials. That means pieces of the jersey or the bat or the ball cap or the bloody sock. That's going to be involved in that. Pastime materials. So these are items that from the history of the old players like Mantle and Gehrig and Mays. Those items might be in there, as well as prospect jumbo materials. That's today's upcoming prospects and items that they may have worn in a game or player worn. So that's coming out. That's coming out this Wednesday, the 28th of August. The next one is 2023 Select Football. That's coming out Friday, the 30th, a week from yesterday. That is 2023 Select Football. Chris, I'm going to inform you a little bit, and I would love your opinion. This box, I'll get the stats as we're talking here, but the interesting part about it is that a lot of this product has been so delayed because of COVID. When COVID happened, the factory shut down. They couldn't print cards. They were just not allowed to. The factory printing place is in Dallas, Texas, and they had some certain restrictions of work from home versus being able to work at actual work, and they shut down all the ability to do that. And what it did was it pushed back everything about 6 to 12 months on production. So even though we're starting football next week, is it next week already, Chris?
Yes.
Even though we're starting the 24 season next week, this is 2023 product, meaning that the rookie cards of CJ Stroud, of Anthony Richardson, of Bryce Young, it's barely coming out in this product when this normally comes out at the early part of the season. So right around October, maybe November of 2024, normally 2024 product for football would be coming out. It's been pushed back so far that right now we're barely getting 2023 product. Now, why is that good? Why is that bad? So the reason why it's good and bad is, number one, the bad part is obviously you can't collect your favorite new rookie card during the season while they're playing. So there's not a lot of ability for you to buy it for an investment watching CJ Stroud escalate into a Pro Bowl player that takes his team to the playoffs, which the Texans were not expected to do. And so you can't collect it on the uprise. But the good part now is that you know who's good rookie from that rookie class the year prior, because you're now able to go, I want CJ Stroud, I want Anthony Richardson, and I'm kind of not so hot on Bryce Young. Maybe he'll do well, maybe he won't. But for the most part, I know who to collect from the first year. Now that the season is over, who, in your opinion, Chris, was a wow factor for you as a rookie in football this past year that you were not expecting to be as good as they were, and who was more of a letdown for you? And that would we'll talk about that in the card world.
I'm not going to say, I don't know, a disappointment last year, but I could imagine Trey Lance would be one of those guys of, oh my God, yes. And then being surprised if he's done absolutely nothing since he got in the league. But Bijan Robinson, you always knew he was going to be good, but then he came in on fire,
Yeah.
taking on everybody, putting the team on his back.
I would say the Bijan too is one of the anomalies right now. Football, when it comes to running backs and collectability in cards, it doesn't happen as much as it used to. If you think about like where cards were even a few years back with LaDainian Tomlinson and those types of players, they were featured backs. They used to get pretty on average between 1,200 to 1,500 yards a year. I played fantasy football since I was very young, and my favorite player was Priest Holmes. And that guy
Mine was Sean Alexander.
these guys would score 25 touchdowns
Yeah.
easily. And now if you get Bijan Robinson, I don't know what his stats are, but if you get Bijan Robinson getting you 12 touchdowns, that's amazing. Just the way that football is played nowadays is so different. Running back by committee, so really it's heavily collectible in the quarterback scenarios, but big busts, big rewards. Example: 2021 football was a hot product. Think about who came out of there right off the gate: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Davis Mills, Mac Jones. Those were all first rounders. Oh, I think Davis Mills might have been a second rounder, but point of it, you had 5 quarterbacks. This was hot. Boom. People were coming in. They were buying, spending a lot of money. Here we are. It's 2024. 3 years later. All right, where is everybody? We've got T-Law, who signed the big contract, so he's legitimately a number one. Zach Wilson, third stringer in Denver. Trey Lance may never see the field, but may see the field depending on Dak's contract or his demands. Right? Dak is likely going to be the highest paid player in NFL history. Correct?
Most likely.
Yeah, probably 60 million a year, which is nuts to me. Then you had Justin Fields. They're trying to pick the least worst guy right now for Seattle, for Pittsburgh, excuse me. Who do you think's going to win that, Russell or Fields?
Oh man, that's one I can't even understand. Wilson, after like his last season with Seattle was kind of meh, and then he goes to Denver and is not good, and he hasn't shown me anything to where he could get back to where he was. And there's nothing really around either quarterback to help them out. But taking on Russell Wilson's contract, I don't get it. I didn't get it at all at the time.
Well, did they take the whole contract, or did Denver eat all of that?
Denver is eating a lot of it, but you're still like, you still have that money on your contract. So
he only has George Pickens. He may have a running back. I think the running back is Jalen Warren. Does that sound right? I can't remember who the running back is. That's how good it is. That's how good of a situation they have. George Pickens is a wide receiver, and then you have Justin Fields fighting for that job too. Out of that,
I think I like the from the outside, just looking in a vacuum, the idea of, oh, you got a veteran coming in, a rookie who didn't do well for his first team, but now he's trying to prove everyone wrong, and they'll go against each other, and the cream will rise, and we will get the best quarterback. And none of that has happened.
Yeah, neither one. And the one that was their starter last year has been traded. Pickett was traded to the Eagles as a backup. Going back to that 21 class, Mac Jones is the backup to T-Law now in Jacksonville. And then who's that? Oh, Davis Mills is never going to see the field unless CJ Stroud gets hurt. And I'm trying to think who's the last one. Oh, I mean, just a terrible setup. And when that happens, Chris, when you have 5 quarterbacks in the first round and only one is still standing when it's all said and done, it tanks the products for years to come. So 2021 products, football, there was a box called Panini Prism Hobby. That was in excess of $1,200 a box at one time. Now you can get those boxes for right around $700 because all the guys that you were chasing suck. And so we're kind of like laying out how that's going to be in the future for boxes as well. So 2023 Select Football, that's coming out Friday. The layout for Football Select is going to be, let me see here. Oh my goodness. I'm getting heartburn just looking at this price. The price of the box is between $1,000 and $1,050 per box, Chris. 12 packs, 5 cards per pack, 60 cards total. And you're getting 2 autographs, 1 memorabilia card in that box, besides other different types of. Well, it's just painful. It's just painful. $1,000 for this box, but guess what? It'll still sell. It'll still sell out. And because Panini does not have exclusive rights to certain players, because Fanatics signed agreements of exclusive rights to players, there is no CJ Stroud autograph in there. There's no Bryce Young autograph in there. The highest ranked player that you can get in there is Anthony Richardson. And have you been watching him play the preseason this year?
I've seen very little preseason this year.
So far, he's gotten some sort of people really are high on Anthony Richardson. They believe that he played 4 games last year before he hurt himself, and he was pretty good. And now without Gardner Minshew on the roster, and it's totally his show. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder, his repaired shoulder. But yeah, he's able to actually just pay attention to that. All right, so those are the new products that are coming out. Now let's talk about actual sports and how it would relate. Yesterday something happened. Are you a baseball guy at all, Chris?
I used to be.
You-
There was
you
a time when I was a baseball guy.
You watch enough to be dangerous now, to where
No.
you know your stuff. Do you know who hit 40 home runs and stole their 40th base at the same time?
That I do know. That was Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, is this guy? This is the amazing thing about this guy. He won last year's American League MVP without pitching because, if I'm not mistaken, he hurt his UCL, the same injury as Brock Purdy, correct? And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, he had to get surgery on it, and it's just he cannot pitch for a year.
But he still hit. He's still
Yes.
DH'd, and he got American League MVP. And here he is again this year. He goes to the National League, and last year Acuna did something nuts. Ronald Acuna Jr. did 40-70 season, which is absolutely crazy. 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases. I remember being young, and I believe it was 88 when Canseco did his 40-40, and we were all just amazed that a guy could do that. And it's happened several times since, but Acuna with his 40-70 last year was just insane. This year, Acuna, before he got hurt, was not on pace to be as good as he was last year. He was struggling with home runs at the beginning of the year. He was just not doing the same kind of thing. So it was highly likely that he wasn't going to be into the NL chase as far as an MVP. But Tony's come in. He's hit 40. He's stolen 40. There's an outside chance this guy goes 50-50. That would be just absolutely crazy. He's likely, the odds of him winning MVP are so stacked that he is like minus 1,200 to win, meaning that you had to bet $1,200 to win $100. That's how far ahead it is to get Ohtani as the favorite. He's going to win MVP again. Chris, where's this guy ranking right now in the all-time ranks right now as far as players? Is this guy knocking on Hall of Fame numbers at this point?
Absolutely. It's funny that you said that because I just happened to see this stat today. It is in MLB history, one batter has averaged 30 plus home runs, 50 plus steals, and 5 plus triples per season for his career. In MLB history, one pitcher has averaged 11 plus strikeouts per 9 innings with a 650 winning percentage for his career in at least 80 starts. Both are Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, he is just doing stuff that we've never seen before, and it's this mystery. I think it's some of these players like an Ichiro or a Ohtani that don't normally do interviews, or you've never really even know what their voice sounds like. There's this shroud of mystery around these players that's like, you're that good. You're a worldwide phenomenon. You're bringing joy to everybody that watches you play, and we've never heard you talk before.
Yeah.
I think it's just something unique about it. I don't know. He's only been around since 2018. That was his rookie year. How long is it before a player like him can say that they are in the hall, that they will be hall worthy sooner than later? Could Otani stop tomorrow and be Hall of Fame? I don't know yet. I have a feeling that he's a couple years away, but he's really close at this point.
I'll say there's not going to be. I would say there'd probably be more yeses than nos.
Yeah.
If for some reason he couldn't play anymore, I think there'd be more people saying, "Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer," than "Oh, he didn't play long enough."
Now, with the A's playing in Sacramento starting next year, we've got this opportunity, interleague plays happening. There's a high likelihood that the Dodgers will be playing in Sutter. What's it called now? Sutter Park?
Sutter Health Park, yeah.
I want to make sure we get it correct. They paid big bucks to be there. Sutter Health Park. And you guys have probably covered it on Carmichael Dave's show. What is the game plan for them with Rayleigh? I call it Rayleigh Field, Sutter Health Park. What is the plan to expand the seating arrangement? Do you know much about that?
As of right now, I don't know if they will be able to in time. I do know that there's been rumors of putting bleachers into the lawn area.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, I haven't heard anything of actual expansion. I do know that they've kind of been pushing Fisher to invest in expanding the park. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I went with my wife and son to, it was earlier this year. It was the Giants were playing exhibition against the River Cats, and it was packed. And we sat on the grass area, and I waited almost 45 minutes for a hot dog. I waited 20 minutes for a soda, and the place was packed as per it could fit. And they've got to do some real adjustments to be able to handle a major league team, because you know that Sacramento is going to support these A's like crazy. We're going to have a packed house every game. You're going to have people like Trout, if he's ever playing. You're going to have Otani. You're going to have the Giants. You're going to have Aaron Judge on a regular basis coming and playing in Sacramento. Forget what the A's look like. Just with the crowds coming to see the visitors, it's going to be wild.
I think the first Yankee A's game might be a home game for the Yankees.
It might be, especially with Judge being close to home as he is. If you think about that, it's like, wow, this is really wild how insane to be able to have these people come. Now, Sacramento shows up for everything. They really do. And people go, well, the Maloofs, and when they had them in the late, right before they were trying to move, the stadium wasn't selling out. No, the stadium wasn't selling out. The arena was not selling out. Arco was not selling out because they were anti-Maloof, not anti-Kings. And after the Maloofs were found out trying to move them to Virginia Beach and then over to Anaheim over and over again, people were like, we're fed up with this. Everybody's going to show up to these A's games. And I don't know if you heard Eric Burns about a month ago, maybe a little bit less than a month ago. He had said his thought was that the A's in the Sacramento community are going to be bonded so well, they're going to sell out so much that Fisher may look at it and say, I have a good thing here. I'm just going to keep it here potentially. And they would use another team like the Tampa Bay Rays to move them over to Vegas instead of the A's. That would be awesome if that could happen. I don't know if that's even a possibility.
I think Tampa, the city of Tampa may have just agreed on a new stadium for the Rays. So I can't see them moving, but I do know that there's been talk about possibly a new franchise coming into MLB to where maybe that's the Vegas team.
Yeah, I looked and I saw a few of the Raiders games, and the Raiders games tend to be 60% Raiders fans, 40% whoever the other team is coming in to play. It's pretty wild how that ended up happening. All right, so let's just take a quick look here and see what else we got on the radar. There's a few things here, Chris, that I'm thinking about talking about, and that's the 49ers season that's starting next week. Do we have any Ayuk news?
None as of right now. It's still waiting. The story that came out the other day was that they do have a plan in place to trade him to Pittsburgh if they can't work him out, if they can't work out a deal, which is kind of weird to put it out there.
Yeah. If this falls through, we'll ship you to Pittsburgh.
I almost think it's like they're calling his bluff of just like, all right, we want to sign you for this. You can go to Pittsburgh. You've seen their quarterbacks.
We just talked about that.
Yeah, we don't know if you're going to get the ball. If that's what you want to do, it might not look good for your next contract.
Your money will be there for you in Pittsburgh, but don't expect your stats to look anywhere near the way it would if you'd stay with the Niners. The question is, get paid a little bit less and stay with the Niners and still make a ton of money with those guarantees and go for the Super Bowl, or go play in Pittsburgh in the cold and try to figure out who's going to be your quarterback from week to week. Chris, why does this keep happening with the Niners? What is it about them being really weird about contracts? They did this with Bosa last year. I think he signed week 1 of last year. They why not just empty the bag and get these guys? We have the ability to do it. They did it with Debo. What is it about these Niners that keep happening like this?
Yeah, man, and even Debo, like it wasn't early on where they re-signed it. I want to say like Christian McCaffrey might be the first one that they did. They've got this type of thinking to where like we're just going to push it as late as we can and play this game of chicken to, oh, well, they always sign, so it always works, so we're doing well.
And maybe it does work as far as the actual contracts, but people are human. That can't feel great as Brandon Ayuk, no matter how he feels about it, to be like, well, they already have the exit plan for me if I can't make something work. That's weird. Bosa doesn't sign him until the first week of last season. We just got this weird game of chicken that they play, and I just don't know why they do it. And guess whose contract's coming up? Brock Purdy's.
Yeah, which is going to be huge, especially with them. Like he is, his value is way high for the money that they are paying, and that's the point. Is they need to get the Super Bowl now, right? And Ayuk, they're going to need him to win a Super Bowl, and both the Niners and Ayuk know this, so it's going to be tough to see where it goes. So if they trade Ayuk, what's the plan? What's the plan this season? I mean, that doesn't feel like a push for the Super Bowl.
I feel like the Niners are being somewhat cheap, and I'm being ridiculous, right? Because you and I combined make a little bit less than Ayuk makes. But I would just say that, like, if it's a matter of a few million bucks, just get it done. Just get it done. Lock in the Super Bowl run. And I mean, what were we? Receiving possession in overtime was the difference of winning and not winning.
Which they totally screwed up.
Yes, they did. Which is crazy because I wouldn't say I'm a strategist, but even I was screaming at the TV going, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you want it second? What?
And you have an entire 2 weeks to plan for this game, going over every single type of situation. And the guys are saying like, oh, I didn't know the rules.
You're so dumb. All you have to do is stop them. You have a great defense. Just stop them one time, and then you can come down, and the next score counts. What are you doing? And they took the ball first. It was just, I don't know. Shanahan, for all of his geniusness. And then I think they blamed it on Wilkes, and that's why they dumped him, if I'm not mistaken. Is one of the reasons why they dumped him.
Yeah.
I sound ignorant here at the home of the 49ers here on Sacktown Sports 1140. Who's our defensive coordinator for the Niners this year?
I wish I could.
You don't know either? Okay, good. Well, anyways, so we've got the Niners starting next week. What are your predictions for the season?
I said next week, but by Saturday going in through the last week of August, it's not that. It's the first week of September.
Correct. So it's a week from tomorrow.
Thursday.
Oh, a week from Thursday. We're Thursday.
Yeah, we got Thursday night football.
Wow. And just to refresh everybody, including myself, who are they playing?
The Niners are going to be Monday night football against the Jets.
Oh, home or away?
The return of Aaron Rodgers. I believe it is in San Francisco. I just want to double check real quick.
While you're checking that, we've got Aaron Rodgers coming back to NorCal potentially. This would be interesting. And they have Garrett Wilson. They have Breece Hall. They have a pretty good lineup. Chris is looking right now. He's checking.
Yeah, it's going to be home September 9th against the Jets.
Oof. That's the opener.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if I like starting on Monday Night Football again after last season.
Yeah. What, 4 plays?
Yeah.
Side note, did Trent Williams resign? Is he not holding out anymore?
From what I understand, he's still holding out.
Jeez. Niners, get it together, man. We have a Super Bowl run in front of us. Let's make it happen. All right, keeping it local, and we're going to be wrapping up here in the next few minutes. How have our Kings been as far as the conversations and what's happening? I know there's a lot of pundits right now just kind of doing their normal, it's slow, season hasn't started yet, so we're just going to do the rankings and stuff like that. But Chris, any words on any other moves happening for the Kings between now and the beginning of the season? I would like to see one more. Was there any other rumors?
I haven't heard anything. The Kings have basically come out and said, like, we're not planning on another move. It's one of those things of, if we're presented with something that we can't turn down, obviously we'll take it. But from what I understand, this is the team that's going to be starting this season.
Yeah, the only other play that I would like to see them do, if possible, is to pull like a Cam Johnson out of Brooklyn. He would be a great fit to either come off the bench. And you know what that's going to have to include. That's going to have to include Herter. That's going to have to include a first rounder of some sort, maybe. And as much as I really enjoy Kevin Herter here, the guy's a New York guy. He's from New York. He goes home to New York in the offseason. It might be good for a reset for his career as well. But we'll see if the Kings do anything more. Yeah, it's crazy because Kings fans have been calling in until 11:40 for the last 3-4 months, screaming that Monty needs to do something. Then he makes major moves, and they're like, "You need to do more." It's like,
yeah, do more.
What do you want this guy to do? He overhauled our entire roster. He brought on a 6-time All-Star. He got rid of Sasha and Davion. He's just nobody's even talking about Carter being a draft pick. I mean, the guy has Carter coming on probably around January.
That's the plan. Is I've heard January he can show up, and from talking to, he's out of Providence, former host here, Nick Cattles. He's from Rhode Island, big Providence fan. He is like, oh, the Kings might have gotten the steal of the draft. He's really high on him, and he's like, he's going to fit with the Kings fantastically. So that was a real bummer of not being able to see him in summer league, and like hopefully to improve throughout the season. Like Keegan Murray was one of those guys where we heard about, it's like, oh, he's a pretty good guy. And as the season went, his rookie season, is like, oh,
he's good.
Not only is he good, like he is going to be a King for a long time.
Yeah. Now we're running a sports card show. I'm talking to a guy that doesn't follow sports cards at all. And just how does this relate as we wrap this up? Make your investments. I believe in Purdy. I think Purdy's going to go up to another level. He's already a Pro Bowler. I think he's going to do really great. Whether Ayuk's there or not, Debo's ready to go. McCaffrey's catching out of the backfield. I would invest in Brock Purdy, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Secondly, regarding the Kings, I really think that those of you back in 2009, it's the same year as Curry's rookie year. DeMar DeRozan is a good purchase right now. He's very inexpensive, and I would invest in DeMar DeRozan, particularly numbered cards or refractor cards of DeMar DeRozan. I think he's going to have a really good season. I think the regression of this is going to be De'Aaron, but I don't mean it in a sense of like he's going to be worse. I just think that De'Aaron's going to be willing to share more of the ball because he's got a proven 22-point a game scorer with him. I think Sabonis's points are going to go down, but I think his assists are going to go up. And I would look to see Keegan. I think Keegan's going to kind of fall into, is he going to be a borderline all-star, or is he just going to be a really, really good starter moving forward? This is the season that's going to make those choices. And if one more, as much as I hate to say it because I'm a Giants fan, invest in Ohtani. This guy is on fire. He's going to be a long-term hold and even a short-term flip. I would love to do that. Chris, you did awesome today.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Not knowing about cards and you know, the planning that we put together 45 seconds before we got on, I mean, it showed. It really showed. Thank you so much, Chris, for running the show today and allowing me to do this from Southern California from my Airbnb. We'll be live in studio next week, next Saturday. Thanks so much for tuning into the True Sports Cards show here on Sacktown Sports 1140, and we will see you next Saturday here on the show.
Did you miss any